Hello, YouTube watchers. Jason here. Wyatt is over there.
I
He's
am. Unfortunately, I'm in the blind. I'm so sorry. My camera, of course, decided to act up as we're trying to record since we well, haven't been doing these for a little bit. And we really apologize for that.
yeah. It's been a little while since we did a memory jogger, but oh well. We'll try to get the camera fixed next time. And in the meantime, you can stare at the wonderful Agents of Mask logo I created 3 years ago or whenever it was. We are going to do our game show memories tonight. I posed a little question over there on the Twitter. Hopefully, we'll get some takers to see what some of your favorites were. I'm going to try to do that, maybe do a little interaction prior to recording, but we just wanted to say hello and thanks for watching. And we hopefully will get back into the groove soon and get these out on a regular basis. I've been doing those Rankum shows in the podcast feed. Hope you've been enjoying those, but missing my buddy Wyatt here. We haven't done a show in a little while.
Yeah,
So,
sadly, I've had a couple things come up. I know Jason had a couple things as well. And then last week we were planning it. We were planning to actually do about 3 or 4 shows. We had it all lined up, and then I decided to get a stomach bug of some sort, and I was not functional by any means.
yes, yeah, there was one night too. Uh, it was a long day at work, and I was like, I think I'm just going to crash after dinner. But we are back finally, and Wyatt is at maybe what 95% health. So
95. You remember the old Windows? That's what I wanted to do a long, long time ago in a far off galaxy. I know you can't see it because I'm moving my hands already. Um, I wanted to create one of them cool dashboards back before digital dashboards were the big thing, And I wanted to get the old Windows, the old like Windows 95 bar graph that shows you your 90% installed. I wanted to do that for a speedometer and a tachometer in my truck. Never figured out how to do it, so obviously, But
yeah,
when he said 95%, I had that vision right there in my head. So,
that's funny. Well, we are gonna start recording here, and again, thanks for watching us over here on YouTube. We'll try to talk to you guys directly more often. Sometimes we just get right into recording, and I don't know, it's fun just to give you a little more behind the scenes of what's going on here. And as you can see, my wall of somewhat nostalgia. There's a newer Transformers poster right there, which I'm hoping to replace soon. But you can stare at Matt Tracker now over here on this side, and my
awesome.
little football players. Those a friend of mine found at a thrift store. There you are. Hello.
I figured it
You have
out.
your camera. Oh,
Somehow,
good.
Novo, my computer, I didn't realize I did it, but I turned it on to a privacy setting. So
Ah,
everything got turned off. There's no way to get to it unless you're a hacker that knows how to do this. But
gotcha.
yeah, I'm that paranoid
Anyway,
guy. I even still have a piece of paper that sits over the camera.
anyway, those football players I had in my room uh, as a young boy, and there's one more. There's a red one that I'm hoping to put right about there. Uh, and then I found that awesome Top Gun logo plaque at Hobby Lobby on clearance. So I was like, yeah, we'll swing for that. And now I can't have a man cave. I don't have room for a man cave, so I have a man wall.
Yeah, that's better when what I have. I have uh my Wayne's World 2x2 closet like I've described before with the shower curtain. And Jason, did you go cross-eyed? I think we lost Jason. Hello? Wow. We've been away so long. We dropped Jason somehow. I don't know how that works, but this happens. We've had a technical difficulty night.
Hello?
There he is.
Hi. Weird. Okay. You're the one that froze, not me.
You froze. I didn't. You had the downside was it was the mouth open. You're like,
Oh, cool. I can't wait to see that on YouTube.
might have to edit that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that will not happen again, and we will start the show. If it does, I guess we'll keep my my phone handy. So, okay. Notes are ready, I hope, and we will talk about some game shows. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Memory Jogger on the Rediscover the 80s podcast. We are back and we thank you for listening to us as always. You've got contestant number 1 over here. This is Jason. I'm ready to come on down. And contestant number 2 is ready to press his luck and hopefully avoid the whammy. That is Wyatt. How are you, sir?
Good, but I seem to always hit the whammies. And as you, as the contestant on Price is Right, you would get up there far more often than I would ever. At least you were better
You
at
think
guessing
so?
the prices.
Yeah, it's probably just because I watched so much of it that
Well,
I
I still
memorized.
watch it, but I still got, I think we said this in a memory jogger too. I was so bad at it when it says manufacturer's suggested retail price, not what we see in the grocery store, but I would still see what was in the grocery store price and not, the 50-cent markup or the California 50-cent markup. So I
Right,
always
right.
faulted on, I see it at Walmart or Kmart for $2, $5. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
my
Kmart,
unfortunate pricing and learning.
Kmart did not list their prices according to what was on Price Right. That's for sure.
So
Okay, well, we are back and once again ready to jog our memories and run down a few childhood dreams from the 80s and even early 90s. We appreciate everyone for subscribing and listening to the show on your favorite podcast app, which now includes iHeartRadio. And a humble thank you to everyone who watches this over there on the YouTube as we fumble and even give you a little extra content, hopefully, before and moving forward, before and after the show. So we thank you for watching us over there. Well, as I hinted at there, Wyatt, tonight is episode 13, and we will be talking about our game show memories. Can't
yes, and
wait
I
for
think
this
we need
one.
to take a small commercial break because I forgot to grab something for this show. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You can talk amongst
Okay.
yourselves.
I will. I'll be the Rod Roddy for a minute. Just a quick reminder, you can interact with us by finding our show notes over there on rediscoverthe80s.com. And then you can also talk to us, or at least type to us over there on the Twitter. I am RD80s. Wyatt is at InfamousWB. And would love to have your feedback. I actually posed a question tonight to the Twitter on what is your favorite game show you remember as a kid. Getting a couple entries here that we'll get to, but right now, let's go into a little icebreaker I found, I believe, 2 days ago. I'm not sure if you saw this, Wyatt. Are you back?
I'm here. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
not frozen.
Okay. Blockbuster is now. This was surprising that there were still stores open, but
Yeah.
Blockbuster is now down to one store in Bend, Oregon, after 2 of their stores, the I guess the next to last stores you would say, closed in Alaska. So there is one lone Blockbuster. I saw a couple tweets about people maybe going on a pilgrimage to the last store.
That that
You know,
that flabbergasts me that there is still a Blockbuster. I thought they actually were done. I think they tried to do that um, uh, Redbox kind of wannabe for a little bit, and then I saw that fade out. So I thought they were pretty much done.
yeah, we did back when we first started doing Netflix. Blockbuster also did the like through the mail rentals, and you could order online and you could actually return them to the store, which was interesting. And then you could I forget how the whole thing worked, but instead of mailing it back, you returned it to the store, and then you can get one back quicker
Right.
than waiting on Netflix. So it was a good idea, but obviously it wasn't enough to to keep them in business. I okay, so I was just home being Clearfield, Pennsylvania, and as I was driving to Clearfield, I go through Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, and there is still a video store there. That one, as you're coming out of town on the left, as you're going towards Clearfield. You know where I'm talking about, Wyatt?
Yeah.
It's still there. They had the posters up in the windows, and I think our silver screen video is still there, isn't it?
They are still there, and coincidentally enough, our GPS on occasion takes us through a brisk tour of Tyrone, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a second silver screen video sitting down there too, and it's still open. So at least in
No
central
kidding.
Pennsylvania, the DVD stores, video stores are still alive and kicking. I don't know if they're like borrowing money every 5 minutes, but hey, they're still there.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's somewhat out in the country, around those places. There's not a huge city around. You have to drive 45 minutes to Altoona or State College, Johnstown. Those are the big like cities, I would say,
Yeah.
around where we grew up. But yeah, I saw that headline for Blockbuster and I was like, there's still that one in our town and over in Phillipsburg, and there's still the little mom and pops are still kicking.
They
I don't
are.
know
And maybe
for how
that's the
long, but
well, maybe that's the key is they are the one-offs. They have probably bought, not leased, a building, so they don't have that overhead of paying, $10,000
yeah.
a month for a freaking lease or whatever the charge is.
Hmm.
I say that because I asked that question many years ago when our Blockbuster in New Jersey crapped out. I was looking for another reason, and when I looked, they said $10,000 for that store. I'm like, a month or a year? No, it's a month. No
Yikes.
wonder they went under real quick. Geez, I don't know how they paid the bill. I don't know how the grocery stores stay open. Or maybe that's why our
Yeah.
grocery bills are so high.
Yeah. You eat a lot more food than watch movies.
Well, true.
Anyway, well, I thought that was a fun little story. As I don't know, our childhood stores seem to be going defunct by the month. With Toys R Us out of business now. I've been threatening every time we drive past the store here in town. I've been threatening to climb up there and pull down one of the signs, put up on that wall back there. But
I think
my
you need
wife
a
is
little bit
always,
bigger
no,
wall.
you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. Well, there's this one of Jeffrey right above the entrance that's nice and square. It's a picture of him, and then it says like "Enter here" or something. I thought that would be,
You know,
reasonable, but
coincidentally enough, a great segue into an icebreaker for me that I just saw on my Facebook page, and that
uh-huh.
is there's someone that has already done like grab the mascots, and they're selling them out on the local yard sale
Oh,
pages in
really?
Maryland. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Like the
They're
costumes?
already they're already selling Jeffrey.
And somebody's going to pay some big bucks to dress up like
Well,
Jeffrey. I tell you what. And then one more little thing I came across my feed just today, but it was posted. Oh, let's see when it was posted. I don't see a date. It's over there on the Retroist. Have you seen those videos of people who like hotwire old computers and floppy drives and make them play songs?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I've seen one. I think one did was it the Pac-Man theme or maybe Super Mario?
Yeah,
It's been so long I don't remember too much.
they've done several like TV shows. They've done songs. I think I've seen one that was like Toto's Africa, and this one I think you'll enjoy. I'm going to put my phone up to the microphone here, so see if you can make this one out.
Yeah, nice.
So there's the Airwolf theme. You can't hear that very well. That was out of several floppy disk drives.
Well, when it first kicked off, I'm thinking maybe they included the blades like is on the theme, but like, well,
You know, it's I thought you would do that. It's played on a system of 8 hard disks with 64 floppy drives and 2 scanners. It's just the 1 minute theme.
Nice.
There you go. So
you were saying about classic old machines. I came across a Twitter feed not too long ago. A guy added Wi-Fi to his old Texas Instruments old 84, the TI 99 4A that I had, via a Raspberry Pi. So it's interfaced, and it runs on Wi-Fi. I don't know what the baud rate would be for that. I think if I remember right, the baud rate for those were maybe 4,800 back in its heyday, and that was still when you had the old phone. You put it on the old receiver style modem.
Yeah. That's some jerry rigging right there.
Exactly. That's what that was. But hey, it runs.
Yeah.
Mine still runs. I just haven't run it for, I guess, quite a while.
Yeah.
10 years at least.
Well, it might be time to fire it up again just to make sure you can say it still runs.
I need to. I miss that. As old as it is, I miss that beast. And my son, I got him into my Nintendo, the retro game that I bought you too, the $10 cheapie.
Yeah.
He's been all over Mario 3. Julie bought a Mario 3 cart. I said, well, Jason just inherited a Mario 3. Jason still has mine. That's why I say that. Jason still has mine, which is now his now. I don't need to.
Thank you. Very nice.
But he's fallen in love with Kirby. Sonic was the big news for like a year. Everything Sonic. This guy was obsessed with Sonic. And then all of a sudden he started playing Kirby just out of the blue. I said, try this. Okay. He's in love with Kirby. Now he wants everything Kirby. He wants to find dolls or whatever. Dude.
Good luck.
Yeah, really.
You need to get the new Nintendo and play, or I think it's the Wii U. It has Super Smash Bros. Have you seen that, where they have like all the different characters and they fight each other?
Well, he watches those YouTube videos of dudes playing the game, and he knows King DDD and all these other characters. Like, who the heck are all these guys? Then I'm watching it with him, like, dude, you know more about Kirby than I did. I didn't even know about Kirby. I had that game. I have no idea where it came from, and I never played it. All those years I've had it, it basically was either it was used, or maybe I got one somehow from our mutual friend. But I never played the thing. To me, it looked funky, and I never liked it, so I just never played it. Ignorance, but I didn't play it. So he's the first one that's ever played it. Oh well.
I think the only time I ever played Kirby was on a Game Boy, and I can't remember who had it. But I just went out a shopping app and bought a mini Nintendo, the Nintendo Mini, I guess they call it, but direct from China.
Oh, nice.
And it's got 500 games preloaded.
Nice.
Now, what they call the game and what the game actually is 2 different things. and there might be some games out there that I just never thought existed, but they'll have like Super Mario Brothers 6. And I'm like, they made 6? Are you counting the ones that were like on Super Nintendo and GameCube and
Right.
all those? But most of them are legit, like NES games. There's some in there that I have never seen before in my life. They might have been just released in Japan or China, or they have the whole, what is it, the Famicom, I think was the original name of Nintendo. But
Oh, I
anyway,
don't know.
we're going off the topic here. But I've played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can't remember the tagline. It's like this number 2 or number 3. It's based on like the arcade where you had all 4 of them that you could go around and kick butt. But I was playing some of that the other day, and I found it's got some Mega Man on there. It's been a while since I played some Mega Man, and all of the Mario Brothers and all that is on there too. They had Galaga. I played a little Galaga, so they have some like I think that was ported to the Nintendo, but I don't know. They have like Pac-Man and stuff too, which I don't remember Pac-Man being on Nintendo. But anyway, a little bunny trail there, but I'm I'm enjoying that. It was only like $13, so I went for it. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get on to the main topic of the show, and that is game shows. I wrote down a few questions here just to kind of ask ourselves, maybe jog the old memory. But when do you, I guess, first remember watching game shows? Is there anybody like in your family that you picked up on that were watching shows or anything like that?
No, I think it really started probably in our. It'd probably have to be in our early teens in that era,
Mhm.
um, when we really got interested, I guess, or exposed to it, especially on sick days or in summer. And it did start with uh, The Price is Right. That was one of the first ones I remember watching. But then, you're especially on summers, you really get into channel flipping, and there's multiple
Mhm.
channels, and they all had their, each network, which was only 3, 6, and 10. Um, they had their take on it. So they had, we had Prices Right for CBS. I can't remember who did Classic Concentration, but we had that. We had
NBC.
Scrabble
Mhm.
and all those. And I'm like, man, and it started really getting overwhelmed, but in a good way. I loved watching. I got into all those shows. How about you? What was it that grabbed you, or what sucked you in? Was it a family member, or was it just flipping channels and there it is?
It it was definitely my dad, and to this day, his favorite game show is The Price is Right, and he watches it every day. And he then he eats his lunch and takes a nap. And we experienced that firsthand as we were home and having to create our travel plans and stuff that we were doing around being able to watch his Price is Right in the morning. Uh, he loves that show, and I do remember vividly as a kid uh, him getting into that show. Now, granted, that was on days when he was home or whatever, but he would tell me about it, and I think that's probably the first one that really kind of sucked me in. As far as specific memories go, I have one memory that's etched in my brain, will be until I die, and that is I got my tonsils out, I believe in 1984, which I would have been 8 years old. And so I go in, I have my stuffed animal dog named Spot. He came in with me into the room. They knocked me out, and in the recovery room, after I come out and after I got my, like regular room, I remember my parents showing up. I got a GI Joe figure It was the Cobra Eel, the gray and black suit, the diver. I remember getting that figure. I remember eating ice cream or whatever, maybe one of those the flavored ice, you can get, and watching Press Your Luck because I was out of school or whatever. It was, in the morning time after the surgery had taken place and had my tonsils came out, and I was, sitting back and remember watching Press Your Luck and watching, people tried to avoid the whammy. And that memory, between The Price is Right and Press Your Luck, those were probably the first two or the earliest ones that I can remember like watching. And I remember watching them, like you said, when you're home from school, when you're sick at home, you got nothing else to do. Your parents let you watch the TV. You turn on, you get a little bit of cartoons in the morning, then you got to sit through all of the, whatever other morning programming and get to the game shows, which, typically started around 10 o'clock up to the noon local news and all that stuff. So I do remember that. And I do remember later, in, probably teenage, even high school years, watching game shows during summer break.
Yep.
And there was a lot of game shows, like game show reruns on the cable channels, USA being the main one. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I do remember watching a whole afternoon of game show reruns on USA Network. So that was kind of my experience. And I put this question on there. I don't ever remember doing it myself, but do you ever remember playing like hooky from school to watch game shows or, like daytime programming, anything like that?
I didn't. I honestly didn't play too much hooky. My mom was pretty firm about that. Um, mainly because about the time that just shortly after the divorce, my mom had to start finding work. So it was hard for her to let me stay home because then she would typically want to stay home to tend to me. So I had the guilt trip of I don't want mom to miss work, so I'm not going to play much hooky. I think I did maybe probably once or twice, probably when I was younger, but not to get out or get to watch a show or anything. It was probably more for it was probably a test day or something. I don't want to take the test.
Yeah, that's a much better reason, but or much more logical reason to play hooky than just to stay home and watch game shows. But yeah, oh man, I love the game shows, and it got to the point where, well, as we get into some of our favorites here, because we're gonna have a lot that I know we both like, but the big one was The Price is Right. And I don't know when it started. Do you remember exactly when we started doing this? Because I know it was during the summer because we were both home.
It was during the summer. It had to have started. I think it started when I was 14. Which grade that was, I don't know. But it was when that's the earliest memory I have, and it was because we were at. I was living out in Frenchville now at my stepdad's, and I had a TV in my room at the time, so that's how I could do it and not interfere with anybody. And I remember I had a phone line in my room at the time too, not my own line, but a phone, one of
Right.
5, and heaven forbid someone needed to call anybody. But
yeah, well, what he's alluding to is, and I remember this being in my mom's apartment after they divorced over there across from the mall. So that had to have been around the 1990, 91 range. At least that's my most vivid memory when we would pick up the phone and we would play along with Price is Right. The whole show. We'd be on the phone for an hour. So, we would guess along with the contestants trying to, get the price to get up on stage, and then we'd play along with whatever game was going on there. And
then when the commercials hit, Jason would also have his own phone wars. I don't want to say too much about that because I actually have an episode of Memory Jogger planned for that. But we have alluded to it, which is where he played Mary had the little lamb constantly on it. And then he figured out one day he could push redial and it would go faster. That was hilarious. And I could never figure out the right tone.
Yeah, the touch tones. Oh, I missed the touch tone phones. Good times, good times. But yeah, The Price is Right. Oh my gosh. You know, obviously it's been on forever. It's not an 80s show. I mean,
No,
it was on in the 80s, but it's been on for, I don't know, 40 years, maybe. I can't remember exactly when it started, probably back maybe in the 60s. I don't know when Bob Barker took over, but obviously he was there forever. And now with Drew Carey keeping it going, it's got to be the longest running game show of all time. What was some of your favorite games on The Price is Right?
Well, I'm going to piggyback. Did you play hooky at any time? Because I don't think
no. That's what I was saying. I kind of was saying I don't specifically remember doing that, but I love me some pressure luck. So I don't know. I can't say I did. I can't say I didn't. Put it that way. I have no memory of intentionally doing that, but I can't say it wasn't possible that I might have. That might have been one of the reasons I would have stayed home and played hooky.
Well, to answer our second question before we move on, Price is Right started on NBC, ABC in 1956.
Holy cow.
Ran until 65. Then there was what looks like about a 7-year break before CBS picked it up. Then CBS picked it up in 72, and then it's still on.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s. Wow. Anyway, what was some of your favorite games on The Price is Right?
On The Price is Right. So as a kid, I thought this was the most annoying game. But when we got teenagers, when we became teenagers, I loved that old Yo Lady show or game, whatever it was. Yo Lady.
Cliffhanger.
As it climbs up the freaking thing. And it would drop
Cliffhangers.
Off. But it pissed me off because Bob pulled it for like a while. I think he pulled it like right after we graduated high school or something shortly after that. I don't remember when exactly it happened.
Really? Yeah.
It was not too long after we were out. And I'm looking at it and I'm watching it like for a week or something. And I'm like, where's the yodeler? We would have seen it by now. And then then Drew brought it back because
oh, really?
The other game I liked was I think it's because it was I have that somewhere. I used to have it on my phone. I don't know if I still do or not. That used to my wife will kill me, but that used to be her ringtone.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have it on this phone.
I just can't imagine being in a setting in your phone ring to that. And you know, there's probably people around me going, "Oh, that's the guy. It's The Price is Right thing." They probably know.
You're gonna make me look it up. I think I still have the sound effect somewhere. But anyway, so back to other games on Price is Right specifically. I have a fascination with the obnoxity that is the dice game where you're trying to roll the dice. How do you roll a pillow? I mean, really. So they would just throw it.
Yeah. The dice game, that was to win a car too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had to roll the correct numbers and put them in the right place, I think. That was I remember that one. One of my favorites was Plinko. I loved the Plinko game, you know, dropping them in there. And I think that would have probably been my first game I would have ran to. If they like put them up all on stage and you could play one of them, I'd probably run to Plinko. That was a fun one. And I think that was one of the ones you could win the most amount of money. I think it was what 5,000 in the very middle, and then they gave you like up to 4 or 5 of the little tokens, so you could win like $25,000 if you got them all in the 5,000, which was, you know, surrounded by the zeros.
Yeah,
a lot of people would play it safe, and then every time, I don't know what it is. I always thought there was like a trick to the board. You know, you put it in one certain little area, it would go down, you know, close to the 5,000. If you moved it way out, you know, then it'd have more likely a chance to go in, you know, the lower amounts, which was kind of the safe route. But I don't know. Somebody would always like, oh, let me just play it safe. I'm going to put it over here. And there it goes down towards the binnle. No, 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 no. Boom, zero. You know, never seemed to work strategy on that. What else? You remember any other games on there you enjoyed?
yes. My wife killed me
nice.
because it was the first ringtone I think I gave her back when I think I still have my LG flip. And she's like, "What is this song?" I said, "I've been looking for a reason to use this, and I like the song." And what the hell, you know, what the difference, you know? So that's what I've been doing. That was like for a year. Oh, wife's calling.
Wow.
No, I say that not too well. A few women ago, that doesn't sound right. A few girlfriends ago, it was the Three Stooges, the Three Stooges theme, because she actually was one of the rare ones that actually liked the Stooges. So, the other game that I liked, it was really at the end. It was the big wheel. That
right.
I love that big old wheel, and when Bob was getting ready to retire, I remember you and I even having this kind of sidebar of, oh man, if they start selling off the stuff, you know, I know you wanted Plinko, I wanted the freaking wheel. I have no idea where I'd put the thing, but, and you know, that'd probably be the highest bidder. It'd be $1 million piece of, you know, prize, but still, I'm like, man, this would be cool to have to go in your garage and go, let's spin.
And you gotta have that sound effect too. I don't know if that's like programmed into that wheel, but that
I don't think it was programmed at the time, like years ago, because when it would not work, people in the audience would go beep 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 beep.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes, I remember that. And there was always like, you know, God bless the Price is Right, because they had everybody from, you know, it seemed like fresh out of high school to the grannies.
Oh yeah.
When the grannies would get up on stage and win something, they go to spin that wheel. You're like, oh, she's going down. There's no way she would be able to spin that wheel.
Or
you see people like
the thing, you know,
right. And you got to get it all the way around one time for it to count, you know. And they would get up there, and you see people like grabbing onto those little handles and lifting themselves up off of the ground to get it going, you know.
Yep.
You know, like, this needs to be in like a gym somewhere. It's like a full body workout. But just some of the people up there, I'd be like, yeah, they're gonna fall down and hurt themselves. And now I don't like it, because when they're up there, Drew always, you want to give a shout out to anybody, you know? So they'll spin the wheel, they'll turn away and look to the camera. Oh, I want to say hello to my mom and dad and little Billy and Johnny and my cousin Rita. And by the time they turn around, they're done giving all the shout outs, like the wheel has stopped. And they're like, oh, I got 10 cents. You know,
yeah.
They don't even pay attention anymore.
That's what I miss, because you remember you'd see the in anticipation or the anxiety on their faces, like, oh crap, it's gonna be 95 and I got a dime, you know.
You're right. Oh, I love The Price is Right.
I wonder. I haven't watched Drew much since then, but I wonder if they've had any near misses since they asked the question. Hey, do you want to say hi to anybody? You wonder if someone's like, here's the wheel going, right? You wonder if someone's going like this. I want to say hi, hi, hi. Jog.
That's very possible.
Concussion on the wheel.
Yeah. Oh, the wheel. And then some of the other ones I liked was the one where you punch the hull.
Oh, I
and
love that game.
You get the amount out, and it was like, I think it was up to 10,000 or something.
Yeah.
You could win, and you get out like $500. You're like, oh no, this sucks. I want to go to the next. I want to punch again, Bob. And you choose whatever number. I think you chose them in advance or something. He would pull whatever out, and I always thought that was a fun game. It was simple too,
like on The Price is Right. I can think of one that drove me nuts.
One of the ones I did not like was the race game. That was the one where you had this huge podium with a number, and you had the little thing to pull down, and it said 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you had like the 4 price tags, and then you had to run and put them on the little pedestal in front of whatever prize it was, and you throw them up there real quick, you come back and you hit the thing, and it was like 0. Oh crap. And you got to run back, and you got to switch the tags around. You come back and you got like 2, and then you go back, and I mean, it was like, if I ever got that game, I'd be like, I'll just go to the wheel. I'll be the first to spin wheel. I don't even want to play. What one annoyed you?
The clock game, when it was like 30 seconds. You have no freaking time. Yeah. I'm like, dude, that's just not right.
400, lower, 300,
higher. Crap, yeah, 2 seconds. Come on. I hated that game. That was one of those where annoying.
51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and they would just like go at the end, trying to get to whatever the price was. Yeah, that one would have been a difficult one to do.
What'd you think about the golfing one, the little putt game?
Oh, I wanted to play that one. I would be like, oh, I played putt all the time. I could get it in. Come on, it's a car. Put it in.
It always seemed freaking difficult on that show.
Yeah, they did. Well, there were some games that were just like real simple, and then the other ones you had like no chance. The other one that, if I would have got this game, I don't know. It was all luck. It's the Lucky 7, where they give you the $7, and they give you the price of the car. It's usually a 1 or whatever that started it out. But to only be able to miss each number by like 1 or 2 off and do 5, it was like almost impossible, man.
Mm-hmm.
That one hardly anybody ever won the car. I do like, now the one I did like was the 3 strikes, where you put the little the thing in the baseball bag.
Oh yeah.
Pulled out a number. Where does that one go? Okay, that one goes in the 2nd position.
I don't know. That was like a love-hate for me, because there were times where like, man, you hear strike 1, strike 2. I'm like, dude.
Right. They pull them out like
paint. I'd be one of those that would try to feel the paint on it. That feels like a right. I'll go over to this hat.
Right. Yeah. You always had that strategy in your head, how you could like cheat the system.
Then there was that one game where they flip around like a little thing. It says, is it a toast? Or here's a toaster. Is it 30 or is it 75? They'd flip the little door, and you'd have to figure out which number it was off.
Yeah, I think that was what they used when they did Plinko. You had the little door. Which one is it? Yeah,
the Plinko.
And then that's how you won.
Yeah,
right. That's how you got the token on Plinko. Oh man, there's just so much on Price is Right. We could probably spend a whole show on Price is Right. We might want to.
The other thing
might want to go ahead and move on.
I meant to look at Drew this last time before I left work, and all these days I've been off. I don't know if he still has the wicked mile-long mic cable and the 2-foot-high mic, or if it's wireless now.
It's he uses the long one, but it's wireless. At least from what I've seen. I haven't watched it much, but when I have watched it, he uses the long one like Bob used to use, but it's it's cordless.
Yeah. It always,
So
I
that's
like
kind of cool. Yeah.
me and the sound. I love wired versus wireless. Believe it or not, I like the wired. That makes I know that there's cable going to that freaking mic, you know. But I always it always baffled me. I've been waiting for Bob to trip someone or himself all these years.
Yeah.
I don't know how he didn't. But anyway,
I always thought it was weird, when they got the perfect bid and you had to reach in his pocket to get the $100 bill out. Well, I guess if you were a girl, he would let you do it. I don't know. I don't know if he did it with the guys too, but yeah, I'd be like, just give me the $100, Bob. I'm not reaching in your pocket.
hey, at least it wasn't his back pocket. I'm just saying.
Right. Sure. All right, let's go on to some other ones. What's another one that you remember watching?
I didn't watch it too much, but I remember it, and I remember a lot of Saturday Night Live and even in Living Color made spoofs of it, and that's the $100,000 pyramid.
Yes. Now that was a good one. Yeah, Dick Clark, and it was an interesting game because it was more or less like a word game, and you're playing like charades. Essentially, you're trying to get the other person to say the word, and then that bonus round had to be intense because you got that stupid like clock ticking in the background, and it's just you and that person in that little round like red carpeted it's not really a soundproof booth, but you're in that little bonus round there, which actually was round, and you got that tick tock tick. You're trying to get them to say the thing and flip the card around. I did watch. I always had some fun celebrities on there, like Betty White and Nipsey Russell, and
Oh yeah,
just kind of. There was like a pool of celebrities. It seemed like that would do game shows, and they would kind of rotate from game show to game show, And there are certain few I remember seeing on like Hollywood Squares, and they would do win, lose, or draw, and they did $100,000 pyramid. And anyway, that was a pretty good one. I did enjoy watching that one.
it always baffled me. I loved it, but it was also one of those where I don't know if I know everything, and it in that quick of an order to be able to just spit off, Mount Rushmore, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, you really got to be in sync with the other person to
Oh yeah.
get all those clues.
How about you? What's a few others that you can think of?
Well, I want to talk about Pressure Luck for a minute.
Oh, okay. That's one of your favorites.
It was one of my favorites. Hosted by Peter Tamarkin. I don't remember him doing any other game shows, but that one, I love the style and the format of the game and the kind of what seemed to be luck, to where the board landed. But the whammies, I almost rooted for people to hit the whammies just because I love watching them, come out. They had the normal ones that would just come out with the sledgehammer and, that would bonk the whammy and pop the little guy up, on your screen. One whammy, two whammy. And then they had the like celebrity spoof. So they'd like have one that was the whammy Michael Jackson that would dance onto the screen, and Boy George. They would do what was it? Do you really want to hurt me?
Yeah.
And then they'd him bow. Yeah. So I love just watching that. And then I have a really specific memory. You're aware of the guy that like cheated the show, or not cheated, but figured out the pattern on the board. You've never seen that?
No. I guess I gotta Google that one.
There's a whole documentary that the Game Show Network did. Michael, I can't think of his name. Michael something. But he was just some random guy. He had lost his job or something, and he watched press your luck every day and memorize the pattern. There was like 6 or 8 patterns that the board would go through, and he knew which one to like stop on right before, like he knew which one right before it would get to that like 5,000 and a spin at the top.
Nice.
So he figured it out. And I remember as a kid, I'm pretty sure it was during the summertime, because I was up the street and the neighbor lady was babysitting me that summer, and we would play down in her basement. I remember watching the show with him on it, and they had the display right in front of the contestant that showed their dollar amount, and there was enough room for, I think, 5 digits and then the dollar sign. And I can remember when he got so much money that it went to 6 digits and the dollar sign disappeared. They like had no, he had over $100,000. I can't remember what the final amount was. I thought it was like 150 or something, but I think it was after 5 days they kicked you off the show. Basically, you're the grand champion or something.
Right.
Couldn't be on the show for more than 5 days. But they, the documentary is really good. It's one of my favorites, actually. And they actually let him keep the money, because at first they like sued him or, saying he cheated, but he technically didn't cheat. It was the fault of the people that designed the board that put those patterns in there to make people think, oh, this is random, when it's actually not. And he figured it out and won, 6 figures. And it was like the most in, like game show history or something.
But can you use that same argument when you're counting cards?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the if it went to court or something, or how they settled on that. If the the CBS executive said, nope, we owe them that money and we'll fix the board. It was $100,000 mistake. But oh my gosh, I just love that show. Of course, the announcer was Rod Roddy, who also did The Price is Right. So they had that little connection there. And oh yeah, I just loved it. When they brought it back. They brought back the show, and I think they just called it Whammy in the probably early 2000s. I hated it. The board was like, it was almost like watching MTV remote control with all the different TV screens all over the place. Oh, yeah. It wasn't like a square board. It was kind of weird. It was like a diamond shaped almost. And then it was truly random. I'm just watching how the thing moved around and stuff. It was, might as well just close your eyes and hit the button. But anyway, that just kind of threw me off. I think it was the same format, where they give you the multiple choice questions and each person votes to get their spins and stuff. But I just love watching it. And I loved my favorite thing about the show was always when, people are always ritualistic on these shows. They're very superstitious. And, they would come up, to the, the podium. They got their spins. They're ready to go. This is my first time on the show. This one's for my little granddaughter in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Little Michaela. All right. No whammies, no whammies. Stop on a whammy. Every time they like dedicated the spin, they would seem to be always hit the whammy. I'm like, just shut up. You're gonna jinx it, man. Don't bring your family into this mess. Then you're gonna come home and you're gonna be like, I bet that spin on you. You got a whammy for me.
That's it.
You're gonna resent your family. But that, I don't know, that was always my favorite. Not just to press your luck, but any other time that people would be like, oh, this spin is for, my dog Nippy. Whatever. Whammy. Oh, and then that show too, you had where you could pass the spins back and forth.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm one of those. I don't know that I wanted to pass the spin. It's my turn, dang it.
Right. Well, but you get so much ahead. You get like, tens of thousands in your bank there, and then you pass them, and then you pass them, and that person whammies. Well, when you passed them, they had to spin, and unless they whammied, then they got the spins back. They're like regular spins,
Right.
and then they could pass them back to you and make you try to whammy, And those were really fun shows to watch, where like everybody just like we're whamming everybody. Take my spins, whammy, 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 and they would like, there's some contestants that would be like, "You're gonna whammy, you're gonna whammy." Oh, I don't know. I just loved it because I don't know. See, people seem to get into that game too. I love it when the contestants were more into it. But anyway, that's my pressure luck take.
Nice.
Did you watch it? Did you watch the show a lot?
Not quite as frequently as you did. I know I've watched it, but not near as much. All I remember is the board.
Mm-hmm.
Don't whammy, don't whammy. And I remember the little character when he would get whammied, kind of like our Capcom bowling. They had their little random little cartoonish for it.
Right.
That's honestly all I truly remember about that show.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. That was one of my favorites. What else you got?
Well, one that I liked, I don't remember much of the details, but I liked it, and I don't know if you were with me when I got these or not. The favorite one was called Card Shark. Do you remember that show?
Yes, I love Card Sharks.
Well, I used to love it because they had these monster freaking cards, and he got them on these little shelf, and he's like, oh, "What is it?" And I can't remember. I don't remember the details. I just remember him, and it was much bigger than my card. It's like an actual sheet of paper size or something, and he'd flip it around, whatever. I don't even remember the details of how the game was played. All I remember.
I'm going to tell you.
Huh?
I was going to say, go ahead, finish up.
I just don't remember that many of the details and the rules and stuff. But what I remember is the monster cards, and I can't remember where I bought these things. But I'm like, okay, this is the closest I can get to Card Shark. I want one. And then, kind of on the opposite thing, not on a game show related thing, but still opposite, I guess, in the cards. I went to Long John Silver's many, many moons ago in Clearfield, and they were giving away kind of like the kids, the kids meal, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They had cards that are maybe an inch tall, and then in this little tiny plastic, and it's a keychain thing. I still got that. I don't have it with me.
Oh, really?
I still have that. I found it in my memorabilia box here the other day. I meant to grab it, but I didn't know when we get to this.
Yeah.
But I went to grab it. I wanted to grab it for this show specifically to say, I got the big set. You get the little guy. It's probably about, I don't know if you can really make this out. This is one of my smaller thumb drives I use for my MP3 players. There, my phone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's probably about this size, and it is a full deck of cards. I don't know how you shuffle them.
That would be kind of difficult. I don't remember that being at Long John's. We got to do that episode of Memory Jogger where we go dig through our memory boxes, because I got a couple.
Oh, yeah.
But I will tell you how Card Sharks went, because it was another one of my favorites.
Okay.
It was hosted by Bob Eubanks,
and
they always had like the people, like they bring in 10 people from the audience to ask like survey questions too. So here are 10 professional wrestlers, and we asked them, how often do you mow your grass? And so the contestant will be like, how many said that they mow their own grass? And he would say, I'll say that 6 of them mow their own grass. And the other contestant would be like, oh no, they're too busy traveling all over the place. It's got to be lower than that. And then he would, give you the answer. And then that person, whoever was correct, higher or lower, they would get in control of the board. And then they have the board. You have like, I think it was 5 or 6 cards that they would put up there in the deck, and they'd flip the first one over, and then you would be like, it'd be like a 9. And I think aces were high. So you would say, well, there's a lot more cards lower than 9 in the deck. I'm going to say lower. And then the model would spin the next card and be like a 2. Oh, I'm going higher, Bob, you know, because there's nothing lower than a 2. And you try to make your way all the way through the board. And then once, if you did, then I think you got to go to the bonus round. Now, I very vividly remember the bonus round because I converted the bonus round into like a solitaire game.
Nice.
Because it was like it had like three tiers. You started with one card, and you were doing the same higher lower game that you did in the regular game, but you're betting money. So you start with like $200, and you get a king. And you're like, I'll do 200, all 200 lower, and then of course you're going to be lower than a king unless they pulled up another king, which that was kind of sucky that they,
yeah,
you know, they would bottom you out because you couldn't be right either way if you got the same card next. But you would go all the way up the different layers, and I think once you did the first 3 cards, you got up the second level, they moved that card up, and then they added another, I don't know, $500 or $1,000, and then over to the right or left, you had you had 3 cards that you could change the card. So if you got like a 8, which is kind of in the middle of the deck, you know, between lower and higher, I'll change it with number 2, and they'll flip it up. Oh, it's an ace, and then, you know, you could play that way, and you had like extra cards to do that. But I was an only child, so I had to kind of make my own fun sometimes, and I took that bonus game on Card Sharks and made it. I would play solitaire. I wouldn't necessarily like, I don't remember like writing down dollar amounts. I might have done it. I don't know. I just tried to get all the way up through the whole, you know, tower of cards, and did that. So that's my Card Sharks story.
Hey, you remember more than I do. Like I said, I just remember the freaking huge cards.
Yeah, they were huge. They were huge. Let's throw another one out there. How about concentration?
Oh,
they called it classic concentration. That was with Alex Trebek.
Yep.
And that was with the what they called the Rebus puzzles. That was like pictures and letters, and you had to come up with the phrase that the pictures and whatever were spelling out. But you had all these like numbered cards. Well, they were, I think, technically digital, I guess, or whatever that you call it back then.
Yeah.
The board, and then once you matched, it was like a match game, and every time you matched something, you got like a prize, and it revealed part of the puzzle behind there, and you could, once you got to solve it, then this was the show that had like 6 or 7 different cars.
Yeah,
actually, it might have been more. It might have been I don't know. I can't remember how many cars it was. I'm trying to remember how many squares you had to solve, but you basically had to go through. So there was like a Mustang, a Camry, a Civic, whatever, and they would put those behind the names of the cards, I believe, and then whatever, if you matched them all in like 30 seconds or whatever the time was, whatever the last one that you matched, I think, was the car that you won. But I remember they had like this staircase of cars.
oh yes, I remember that.
And you're like, oh my gosh, which one? You know, oh, you got to try to win the sports car, and they get stuck with the station wagon or something, celebrity station wagon, whatever. But I think too, that was a game where if you came back, if you're the champion, you came back the next day, they added time to that bonus game until you won the car, and then once you won the car, you're off the show.
Right.
But I love that show, and I was in I think it was a Barnes and Noble back in the day. This is, I think I was in college, so this was probably 20 years ago. I was in a Barnes and Noble, and they had a classic concentration book, and it was essentially a bathroom book, but they had the Rebus puzzles in there, and there was like certain you flip on this page, and there was a few missing off of the puzzle. You could try to guess it, and then on the next page, it was like totally revealed, so you could try to work your way and figure out what the answer was. But I still have that book somewhere. I meant to try to dig it out. I think it's up in the attic, though. I like that game so much, I bought the book, and I also have the board game.
Oh, nice.
I found that at a thrift store. I haven't tried to play it because my boys, they had no clue. But it was like they had like those little red windows that covered up the puzzle that you pulled up. You know, I can't remember how the actual rules go for the board game. But yeah, I have that somewhere too. So I loved Concentration. Did you remember watching that one?
Oh, yes, I watched it quite often. I remember the staircase of cars, and I remember the revealing it. I didn't remember how they got to the cars. I figured it was once you saw the whole board and figured it out. I think you had to say a phrase, wasn't it? Like map to nowhere or
yeah, whatever
Rocky Road ice cream or something. It came out. It was kind of like Wheel of Fortune. You just had to figure out the puzzle, what it made, what the wording was.
But you had pictures and letters and stuff behind there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that old game.
Do you remember? Now they had a mascot on that show. I can't remember who the girl. I want to say Marjorie. That might be right. Was the like hostess, and they would bring out Pokey, who was this little Chihuahua, and they would like dress him up, or you know, if one of the prizes they were giving away was a bassinet or something, they'd dress him up like a baby and put him in the bassinet, and it was kind of like what Bob Barker did, you know, at the end of The Price is Right about spay or neutering your pet. But this was more along the lines of go out and adopt a pet, you know.
Right.
Every time they'd bring Pokey on the show, for some reason I remember that. Anyway, what's another one for you?
One that I liked, and I just saw it on the I punched up on Google something else. I was looking for the mascot and came up with my show, and that was Tic Tac Doe.
Oh, yes.
That game.
Yes. What the dragon? Don't find the dragon.
That's it. And that's what popped up was the dragon. I thought that was the most hilarious little funky dragon, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
that might have been
I remember the board game. I don't think I had a board game, but I remember seeing it, you know.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was a board game. I remember seeing the board game. And then it was kind of like, if I remember, it was on a kind of like a Jeopardy type thing. You had themes in the squares, and that's how you got your X or O. Was one of the pictures right here on Google is the categories are Disney. I think that says jungle category, but I might be wrong. Science, fashions, basketball, trivia, challenge, faces, top 10, and then I can't see what the other maps of nations. There's a whole thing, and basically how that worked is what it would dictate if you got your X or O out of that.
Yeah, I was thinking it was some kind of trivia involved, and even I don't know how they did that. If they went back and forth, or if they buzzed in to answer. If you got it wrong, the other person got it, or you know, if it was kind of like Hollywood Squares, you know, how they did that tic-tac-toe. But I do remember the show Wink Martindale. That was one of the ones in the on the USA Network. I remember watching reruns, and that I think it was actually, I don't know if it was old 70s, late 70s. I think they did original episodes in the 80s. But I've got, if you don't mind, I'm going to pull up this this lineup here. I was trying to find a TV guide to go through and find, because I remember watching all these shows in the afternoon on the USA Network. And some of them were like Let's Make a Deal. I loved that show. And that was the old Monty Hall version of the show. And it was, I mean, to me, it looked dated back then.
Right.
So it was probably early 70s, maybe mid 70s.
I just found it
when that came out.
Wiki. Tic-tac-toe was from 56 to 59, took a massive break, then went from 78 to 86, took another 4-year hiatus, and was back for 90-91. That was it.
Oh wow. Okay. So there was some original ones in the 80s. I just don't remember that one being on network TV. I just on USA Network. So
well, there's pictures of here. You can see it was on NBC at some point.
was it? Okay. But some of the ones that I remember watching on USA was Let's Make a Deal. And these were all like reruns, I think of, I don't know, unless Tic-Tac-Toe was original. You had Name That Tune with Jim Lang. And that was like, it was almost impossible when I could name that tune in one note. And unless you pick something up on the clue that was given, it was, pretty much impossible to get all the way down to one note and get the final game or whatever it was. So, but I do remember that. For some reason, that show reminds me of the Pontiac Fiero. And I think maybe it was because the prize, the ultimate prize on there was the Pontiac Fiero for the longest time.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, Name That Tune, Tic-Tac-Toe, the $25,000 Pyramid, which we mentioned, which I guess varied in price. I think it went up to 50 at one point, maybe even 100,000. I remember watching Bumper Stumpers.
Oh yeah,
you remember Bumper Stumpers? That was that crazy show with the license plates that you had to figure out. Like the vanity license plates. I don't remember a thing about that show as far as how
I remember it, but I don't even remember the license plates. I just remember you had to look at bumper, obviously a car bumper, but I don't remember what part.
Yeah. Let's see what else I can find on here. There's a few that kind of ring a bell, but I don't necessarily remember. Chain Reaction, Jackpot, Joker's Wild. That sounds familiar, but I don't remember.
I've heard it too. I can't
remember the game. Chain Reaction might have been, I think that was the one with Bill. Who was the host? Where you had this kind of weird, like beehive type board that you tried to connect one side of the board to the other, I think, with your color or something. And it was kind of, I think it was like a trivia show. The Gong Show. I remember watching the Gong Show. Can't tell you much about it other than, the obvious. But yeah, USA Network, those are some of the ones I remember watching on USA Network in the afternoons. Looks like they did have later in the early 90s, they did put Pressure Luck in there, Scrabble, and Hollywood Squares, and Win, Lose, or Draw. So they had reruns of some of those shows as well. You remember Win, Lose, or Draw? They had the celebrities on there, and
not really. I'll be honest, I don't remember that one.
Bert Convy was the host, and it was basically just you get clues, you draw them, and you had like you had a celebrity and a couple contestants maybe on each team, and you had to guess what they were drawing. I remember it. I don't remember it being one of my favorites necessarily. Now, Hollywood Squares.
Oh, yes. I love me some Hollywood Squares.
I remember Hollywood Square. Go ahead.
What was really cool is, especially when you're listening to QIX and you have, I gotta do it. Sorry, dude. Sorry, I got to pull it up if I find it quick enough. But when you hear
Shadow Stevens.
Yeah, that's what he's called it.
Yeah.
Where are they? When I'm looking for them, I can't find the dang. There they are.
It's the weekly Top 40 Countdown on North Central Pennsylvania's biggest
That's
hit.
Rick Dees.
QYX.
Yeah, Rick Dees was on there.
Kerwinsville.
No. It wasn't Rick Dees.
Are you sure?
Countdown on North
Oops,
Central
it's on
I'm
loop.
very sure. Now,
WQ1.
thank you, Rick. It was Shadow Stevens who did the announcing on Hollywood Squares. And Shadow Stevens did host the Top 40. I think it was after that whole dispute with Casey Kasem, and he went essentially and created his own countdown show away from American Top 40. I think it was just Casey's countdown or something. And Shadow Stevens, I think, took over for him on the American Top 40.
I've always had them confused. I always thought Rick Dees was also Shadow Stevens, I guess.
No. Rick Dees was a totally different show than either of those two. If my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, totally. I don't know why I've always thought they were the same person.
Nope.
That has been my error well.
Well, I'm happy to correct you, sir.
I know you are.
Hollywood Squares. I remember watching the original version with John Davidson as the host, and I think it was Joan Rivers who was always the center square, and you had Jim J. Bullock, and then after that version of the show, that's when Tom Bergeron took over. And you had, I think Whoopi Goldberg was always the center square.
Yeah.
And you always had Gilbert Gottfried, too. He was one of the squares.
Oh, that's
right.
He cracked me up quite frequently. Yeah.
Cracked me up. It was always, that show was just so entertaining to watch. I didn't really care. That was one of those shows I didn't really care if the contestants won or not. The celebrities were really the hook on the show, because they would try to come up with some joke or some crazy answer and try to get the contestant to agree with them, and totally throw them off. Gilbert was the king of this. Gilbert would get on there. I remember one episode. It's on YouTube if you go out and watch it. If you look up like Gilbert Gottfried Hollywood Squares, you're going to find this clip. And it's where he dupes these two contestants like several times in a row to agree or disagree with him. And after every time that they would get it wrong, he'd be like, "You fool!" And it was just like this string of hilarious jokes that he would come up with when he was initially asked the question, and then he would come up with some ridiculous answer, and or sometimes I think he even guess it correctly. And the person, the answer before was totally ridiculous, that they're like, he's not going to give me a true answer. And then he would, and then they would get it wrong again. You fool. I remember that. That was really fun, that version. Even the later version with Tom Bergeron versus John Davidson. But Gilbert Gottfried, I think, was my favorite square.
I remember I wasn't a frequent watcher, but I mean, like weekly or whatever, but I was often watching it. I admit it was always hilarious because you're basically betting that the celeb actually had it right. They, they're celebrities, and then most of them are actors of some sort. So, they ad lib all the time. You don't know if they're still ad libbing now.
Right. That was the whole, gag of that, doing that show. Was, well, how much do they actually know, and how much do they really want to try to trick the contestant?
That's it.
Gilbert was always one he wanted to trick them, but that's all I mainly remember about Hollywood Squares. What are some other ones you remember?
I remember Scrabble. I remember watching old Scrabble, and I thought that was awesome thing. And then you'd see the little when it's thinking, here's a B, you have to go
yeah, or it would be I love that show. Yes, I watched that one religiously, and it was just fun. And then they took the letters. How did it work? They like inserted the letters into their like podium.
Yeah.
Let me try T, and they put the T in.
Then it would go
see if it
scan, and then
popped
it would
up.
either do it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was like certain ones you hit, just like on the Scrabble game, that was like worth more, or I can't
Double
remember.
point, triple points.
Or
Yeah.
you got a free tile or something. But that was just the fun of it, like actually, putting in those tiles to play the game. And then at the end of the game, that was another intense bonus round because you got like 60 seconds and you had that huge plunger, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you were trying to the tiles would go themselves that time, and he would keep giving you the clue, and you're trying to pick up what the word is, and you had to stop the timer and know what the word was. If you didn't, then they took time off the clock. It was intense. That was a crazy bonus round. But that was fun show. I love watching Scrabble. All right, I'm going to throw one at you that came to mind. I remember watching, but I still can't kind of wrap my head around the context of when I would have been watching this. They made a game show called the Pennsylvania Game on the public channel on PBS. Do you remember the Pennsylvania Game show?
To you coin your phrase, hell to the no.
It's not my phrase, but for some reason, I thought it was earlier than this, but I think it was in the 90s, like later 90s when they started doing this. And it was like 3 people on the show, and the host would it was almost like educational. So it was like, all right, here's a famous Pennsylvania person and what they did, and then they give you like a multiple choice of, all right, here is Mr. William Penn. Did he also, he's the founder of Pennsylvania or whatever, and he also invented this. Did he invent the whatever machine? Then they give you like 4 choices, and then the contestants would give you their answer and see who was correct, and they would basically keep total of however many questions you got right throughout the show, and gave you like a goodie bag from all like Pennsylvania stuff that was like made or whatever manufactured in Pennsylvania. I think memory served me correctly. I'll have to click over. I did put the link here. I think it was around 1996 when they started. So I would have had to been in, like home from college or something. So yeah, we were out of school. But that was like during my college years. So it would have had to been when I was home to watch it. I was thinking I might have watched it at my grandmother's house, but I remember the game. I just don't remember when.
It said 96 to 2006, so it lasted 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and I see there's a YouTube video up here. It says Harold Altman on the Pennsylvania Game. Okay, don't know who he
watched.
is.
There's a couple on there. They don't have. Well, I did find one that was like a full episode, but anyway.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this, so it's completely. It obviously existed, but I was also 96, so I was Scott Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Scott Air Force Base. Heck, I had been in 3 different assignments by then, starting on my 4th. So.
Okay. All right, what else you got?
Well, one of yours, I'm surprised you haven't come up with yet. Double Dare.
Oh yes. Well, I actually have a page up of a bunch of Nickelodeon game shows I wanted to talk about, but Double Dare, yeah, that was a big one, man. Loved the Double Dare.
I watched it here and there, but not. You are the game show king here because you're doing all the talking about game shows. I know. I remember like bits and pieces of stuff. I don't remember like Card Shark Rules and all that. So
yeah. Well, Double Dare, that was an 80s show. It started in the 80s, if I do remember right. And then Yeah, well, we talked about if you go over to what was it, our 1987 TV shows on Rankum. I threw in there Finders Keepers. That was in back in the 80s. But there was a slew of them on Nickelodeon that I watched religiously up through the early 90s. So like in my high school years, I was still watching these kids game shows. And Double Dare was probably at the top of the list, man. I mean, that was fun. You had you started out the show with the physical challenge, and then it was all about, all right, get through the trivia, find out who wins, and they could dare you to do the, what is it? They do a dare and then a double dare, and then they do the physical challenge.
Right.
So it was you could watch. That was still fun to watch, the physical challenges, but it was all about the course, the obstacle course at the end, right? That was what you wanted to watch. You wanted to watch them, try to reach up in that huge nose and pull the flag out, and all of the different stuff you had to like slide under. There was wow, I'm trying to remember now what all the obstacles that they made, but it was like, I don't know, some of them were like chocolate pudding, and there was always one with like green slime, and trying to grab those flags. And I remember you remember what the ultimate prize was always on Double Dare?
It was like 2 weeks of space camp.
Yes, trip to space camp. That was like the ultimate prize for every Nickelodeon game show. It seemed like the grand prize was always a trip to space camp. And here I am about 2 hours away, and I've never been, but I'd still love to go. I know my boys have been there with their school to go for the day, not necessarily the camp, but the Huntsville, whatever it's called, Rocket and Space Museum.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always the ultimate prize. You got that trip to space camp if you got all the 6 or 7 flags in, was it 30 seconds or 60 seconds?
Something like that. Yeah.
That was a great show.
I'm looking at all the pictures on Google, and
they brought it back.
A frequent one.
Did you know they brought it back just this year, like this summer?
No.
Yeah, there are new episodes on Nickelodeon right now.
I need to get to watching this.
I haven't. We don't get cable, so I haven't seen any. But yeah, they just started. I think I might be the Family Double Dare. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, they just brought it back. That was a great one. I'm going to zip through some of my favorites on Nickelodeon, okay?
Go ahead.
See if you can remember any of these. Make the Grade. You remember that one? That was it's kind of like a Jeopardy style show with kids. And the board was questions based on a grade level. So you had like kindergarten, and then maybe you went up to like 5th grade or something, and all the way up through like 12th grade, that of the categories. And you had to make a pattern, I think, across the board, like a straight across or diagonal with all of your color, whatever color you were. If you were like blue, I think it was blue, red, and green teams. And then I'm trying to remember what the bonus game was. It had something to do with like a fire drill or something. I can't remember what they called it. But I remember watching that. That was when I watched over at Graham's after school. I think that was, well, let me see. I can pull it up here. That had to been like late 80s or early 90s. 89. It's premiered in 89 to 91. So I remember that one. Do you remember the Nick Arcade?
Yes.
Where the kids were in the actual like video game.
Oh yeah.
That one, now that was a fun one because they had like a board. You had this character. His name was like Mikey or something. And you would start at this square, and then you would tell the host, I want Mikey to go left, and he would go left, and he'd land on something. And sometimes it'd be like a question, sometimes it'd be like a prize. And when you answer the questions, you got like points and stuff. And then whoever had the most points, you got to play the bonus game at the end, which was like, it was like you were a weatherman and you had like the green screen behind you, but there was there's somehow like a monitor or something that they could look, and the picture behind them would actually be in like a video game, and they would have to walk and duck and go up a ladder, and I think you were trying to hit coins. And if you once you got to the coin, there's two people on each team. The next person would appear, and he would be in a different game trying to get a coin. And then I think there was one more. It was difficult. I don't know how anybody to do that. Just to try to imagine yourself, looking at a monitor and a green screen behind you, trying to trying to make your way through like a maze. It was hard, and there was only I think a few people that have probably ever beat it. I remember that one, and another big one I remember that was I think that was early 90s too, was Legends of the Hidden Temple. Do you remember that one?
I remember that one now.
Oh my gosh, that one was great. It was I think you started with 6 teams. That one started in 1993. There was like 6 teams to start, and you were like the purple monkeys and the blue iguanas, and I can't remember all the team names. There was like a challenge to start out, and you went from 6 teams to start right down to 4. And then after 4, there was the Steps of Knowledge. And you would have 4 teams up here, and then you try to get down to the bottom, which was like a trivia. I think the idol, the big idol that talked on the show, he would tell a story, and then you had the guy would answer, or the guy would give questions based on the story, and you made your way down. That narrowed it down to 2 teams. And then you had like this other physical challenge that the teams would go through to whittle it down to 1 team. And then you had the temple. And then there was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 different, it was kind of like Finders Keepers. We had like 8 or 10 different rooms in this set. And you would try to go through and there was a artifact based on each show. There was like a theme, and you had to find the artifact and get out. And there was like temple guards in there that would pop out and scare the contestants. And then they won these like medals, coins or something throughout the game, that they would basically get another life if they found a guard. But there was one room that was always like the one that everybody got stuck in, and that was the monkey statue. You had to like assemble this statue of a monkey, which was like 2 or 3 different pieces, fit it all together, and then once you pushed it down, then the next door opened to get to the next room. They couldn't do it, man. Like nobody ever got past the monkey statue to get to the next room. It was just so hard to put together and to fit just right and open up that next door. But oh my gosh, I loved it. Just a few years ago, I went back and started watching episodes on YouTube and introduced the boys to it. Oh, they loved it, man.
Really?
We watched several. There were several episodes on YouTube. I don't know if they're still there or not, because they actually did a movie based on the game show. I've never seen it. It was just, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago that they created the movie. I remember it coming out, and that might have been what spawned me to go back and watch some episodes. But oh man, it was a great show. Just a couple more. Nickelodeon Guts. This is where you had like 3 kids And they were doing, this was all like physical challenge stuff. And at the very end, you had this huge mountain that they had to climb, and you're hitting those little buttons with the red lights as you're going up the mountain. I can't remember a lot about that. I do remember watching that one though. Trying to think what else. Think Fast. I'm trying to remember what that one is. That the logo looks familiar, but anyway, there's several, and there was one on, I think it was on Fox, that was the Funhouse. This one I remember watching religiously. I think it was a Saturday morning show, and it had this like red-haired host. Can't remember his name. It's called the Funhouse, and you had two teams. They did like, I don't think they did trivia. It was more like little physical challenges and stuff they did at the beginning to determine who gets to go to the Funhouse at the end. That was like the main thing. And you had it was kind of like the Hidden Temple, or any of those shows. It was like a Funhouse. You went through and you pulled tags. I think you could pull like 3 tags or something, and some of them were cash and some of them were actual prizes. But you had to get in. I think you had to get your first person had to get like 3 tags and come back out, tag your other partner, and then the next one would go in and get 3, I think, before the time was up or something. And that's what you basically walked home with. But I remember watching that one a lot. And they had this one game, what sticks out in my head. It was like the kids would like push one of them in a go-kart or something, and you had to grab coins out of this, like, they're like foam coins that would be on like a pedestal, and you like push them around, they'd grab this coin, and I don't know. It's kind of a blur, but do you remember watching that one at all?
No, not at all.
Oh man. Oh, I love that one.
A lot of what I think I said this before, a lot of the game shows and stuff, I didn't have really much access to cable, or especially Nickelodeon. Oh, when we moved out to, I want to say when we moved out to my stepdad's house.
So.
Yeah, because we had the satellite dish, but it was just like Dish Network or whatever. You had to buy a package. So to unscramble those channels, and I don't think Nickelodeon was ever unscrambled. The same with there's a couple shows I don't think I had. Like USA was not unscrambled, but if I went to my dad, USA was. So yeah, that's where I watched the New Adventures of Airwolf when it came out, season 4, as we call it. But yeah, I don't remember much of the Nickelodeon games except for Double Dare and a few others that you've told me about, like Finders Keepers and what was the other one?
I've got one here from our friends on Twitter.
Okay, great.
Because I posed the question out. See if you remember this one. There's 2 people. John Laceris at JJL Music and at PAV owned Patrick Pavone. They both said Sale of the Century. You remember Sale of the Century?
Yes, I do. I don't remember much of it, but I remember the game show.
I remember this one. This one was where there was a board you had that had like cards that flipped, and behind the cards was I think dollar amounts and prizes, and it was weird. It was like, you could buy a car for $500 or whatever it was, but the most you would earn on a show was like $100 bucks. So, and you could trade I can't remember how, if you could just stay on the show until you got knocked off or whatever, but there was some trivia involved. They had like a lightning round where you earned like $1 or $2 each time, and it was always whoever had the highest dollar amount got to play the bonus game at the end. I'm trying to remember how the bonus game went, or maybe it was they got to choose, because they would give you like deals. They would come in and say, all right, so you're at $35 and your opponents are like at 30 and 25, and the dude would come up to you and say, okay, I'm going to give you the sale of the century for $10. We're going to give you this brand new jet ski. And then they would try to like egg them on, like, and then you'd hear the audience, do it, buy it, trying to. And then, because it was either, okay, I can get a prize like that with what I've earned, or I can try to stay ahead because the lightning round is coming up. And they're always like, no. And then the host, what was his name? I want to say it was Jim something. He would come back, okay, I'm going to get it to you for $8, and the guy would be like, we just bought a house on the lake and I could really use the jet ski, but no, I can't, it'd be something stupid like that, and then it would go away. But I think
Jack Kelly lifted it from 69 to 71, replaced by Joe Gargolia.
No. Who was after that? There had been another one after that. This was the 80s version.
Yeah, so it'd been Jim Perry.
Jim Perry, that's it. I knew it was Jim. I think at the end, once you won the lightning round, you were the last person. That's when you could just go on like a shopping spree if you wanted, or they would try to bait you again. I'll give you $10,000 for all of your money right now. Or they could say no, and then they'd try to come back on the next show and earn more money to get up to where they could have enough to like win a car. I think that was kind of how it worked. But that one was like a weekday morning show, like on before The Price is Right or something.
So
I do remember Sale of the Century. That was a good one. That was a pretty cool idea too, discount stuff like that,
Oh yeah.
But I like the format too. I'm gonna just throw a couple more out there. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. Sorry about that. Peter Charbonneau at PC Charbonneau 21. He says Card Sharks is up there. We talked about Card Sharks. Joker's Wild too. Joker World History. I don't know. I don't remember Joker's Wild for some reason. Taylor of the T-Tops, who is Alex at Apex Buddha. Big money, no whammies, and lots of Prices Right growing up. So
I remember Joker's Wild. Oh crap! I remember playing this or watching it. So it was like a kind of a slot game. It had 3 cards or shows up there, and they built this big, huge lever, just like you're pulling a slot machine. And you didn't want to get, obviously, you wanted to get the Wild, obviously, but you didn't want to get the Joker, which I think was what failed it. I don't remember like the details, like the rules and so forth, but I remember Joker's Wild. I love that game show. Man, I don't remember the
Jack Berry. Vaguely. I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at some of the screenshots.
Yeah.
Vaguely remember this one. If I would have watched it, I'm guessing it would have been one on. Oh, I think I did say it was on USA Network. I'm gonna have to look on YouTube and watch a show.
Same here. I love that show.
It says it's still on TBS. Weird.
Interesting.
It was 72 to 75 on network and on CBS, and then syndicated 77 to 86, and then 90 and 91. Weird. Okay, I'll have to look that one up because I'll once I watch it, I'll probably remember it. That was one. Let me see if there's any other ones here from our Twitter friends. Don't see any more right now. Any other ones that came to mind you want to throw out there before we try to wrap it up?
I guess the last one I remember watching, it's been again hit or miss throughout the years, but I've liked it all the way through, and that's Family Feud.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and supposedly there's some kind of ghost story that goes along with it with the host and so forth. But I remember watching it. What I remember the older series was when they had the Family Feud and they had the families behind us, basically a little stage behind a paneled curtain, I'll call it, and they'd be all froze,
Right.
Come on down. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
Here's the Waller family. Then they come out and whatever. And I've gone back and watched the older ones a few times because they've done mashups with TV characters. So they had the Dukes of Hazzard versus
Right.
I can't remember who was the like the Waltons or something crazy.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, this is awesome. Why did I not know about this? I would have watched this live. Come on.
Yeah, I do remember those ones with the celebrities coming on there from like different TV shows and stuff. Yeah. And here's the cast of Dynasty versus the cast of Dallas, or something.
Right.
Yeah, and then they would, do the show. I do remember the version. That was the version with Richard Dawson. That was with him. And then Ray Combs took over. They added that what was it? The bullseye round at the beginning where you actually played for how much you were going to, you basically did a game to see how much you were going to play for at the end of the game when you did the fast money. That was good. There is something around Ray Combs. I want to say like committed suicide or something. I can't remember exactly what his story is, but there was something that went on there back when that was during like our childhood era when he hosted. And I haven't watched really much with Steve Harvey. I do remember Louis Anderson hosted the show for a while. I think he passed away. But yeah, Family Feud was good. I would watch Family Feud.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I always liked the bit, the buzzer.
Yeah. So everybody says, that was a good one. Here's one I'm going to throw out there that's pretty obscure, but I had the board game, and this was one that my dad loved, and I think it was like one of those, like probably The Millionaire Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the late 90s was really like appointment television. They put it on prime time so people would watch. And this was one back from the 80s that I remember watching, and I'm pretty sure it was a prime time like special show because it was called $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime. And it was hosted by Jim Lang, who also did the Name That Tune. And it was kind of like a mix of Wheel of Fortune with I don't know. I'm trying to remember it. But I remember it having like I think it was looked like a big computer screen or something. And it was a puzzle. It was like a puzzle like you do a Wheel of Fortune. I can't remember how you like revealed the letters to guess the puzzle. And then at the end of the show was like one of those soundproof booth type games. I'm trying to, it's been forever. No, I probably couldn't tell you how the whole game worked as far as the show goes, but I remember having the board game. I might still have it somewhere. And you would set up the board or the answer to the puzzle was like in this like clear thing, and then you put the letters or you put the tiles on top of it. I can't remember how it goes and how you peeled it off to it seemed like there was like a dry erase board in there too or something to reveal the puzzle. I'm gonna have to pull that one out. That was one that I'm pretty sure it was like a prime time special, because that was at least the first one I can remember that you could actually win $1 million. And this was back in the mid 80s. I'm gonna have to try to find this thing real quick. What are some of the other ones? Any more?
One that I probably did not like, and that was Jeopardy, because I could never figure out what the friggin' question was.
What is I remember watching my when I was over at my Grams, my uncle lived there at the time. We'd have dinner, and right after dinner, well, he always watches news. We would have dinner, and then right after dinner, I think it was from 7 to 8, was Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. We had to watch that every night when I was over there, at least. So that was like a staple that hour since I was a kid. It's been, I don't know. I seem to find Wheel of Fortune, when we used to watch more of the local channels here, which I don't. Yeah. I usually watch Netflix now, but I would watch Wheel of Fortune more than Jeopardy. But yeah, those are some tough questions. I don't know if you ever got into Saturday Night Live, like the newer cast, but one of the most hilarious things is the Celebrity Jeopardy that they do, the skits that they do on that show. Have you watched any of those?
No, but I would.
Will Ferrell.
I'd love to watch it.
Oh my gosh. You just go out and stay on YouTube for a while and click on that right column when they suggest more, and just look up SNL Celebrity Jeopardy. And it's Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek, and Daryl Hammond plays Sean Connery. He's on most of the shows. And you've got Norm Macdonald plays like Burt Reynolds. He's on there a lot. And then there's other random people that impersonate celebrities. And it's just it's the funniest thing.
I see it. I pulled it up.
Sean Connery will just totally mess with Alex. And he'll go after his mother. Oh, Trebek. That's not what your mother said last night. Oh my gosh. You haven't watched any of that?
No, I want to now.
Go out and watch that. Getting an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Not in this cave.
I'm looking at that $1 million chance of a lifetime. Don't remember how this works at all. The board game came out in 1986.
Really?
Yeah. All right. Well, any more you want to throw
out? Not really. I'm starting to reach right now.
I'm doing some of that. I mentioned remote control. We did that ranking. You can go out and listen to that if you want to hear my commentary on remote control. I think I'm about tapped out too. Just kind of scrolling through, make sure didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I can't. I've already made my list, so I really can't.
Okay.
That's my list. There wasn't much there that I saw that I remembered. One of the two.
Well, let's leave it at that then.
All righty.
So now we're up to what are we going to do next time?
Well, I was actually in the middle of texting you this. I was going to leave it as a surprise. I think I am ready.
Okay.
To do our radio station chat, and basically it will probably be a part 2 of the WCPA chat. I think I'm done editing my 3D ensemble, I'll call it, of the station. I've been trying to go through pictures and YouTube or rather Google and stuff, trying to find original photos of the station, and I think I was the only one that has the memory. No one took pictures inside this radio station that I'm aware of. Not even on the outside. Short of my, Q Cruiser picture that I had.
I have one of the Q Cruiser.
You need to find that.
Okay.
So,
I'll see if I can
if you took any other pictures, I'm kind of pissed off I didn't take a picture of the board, or something happened to it. I don't know what happened, but I've redrawn the AM room as best as I can from memory. Granted, I only worked there. I think I worked there maybe like 15, 16 months, because I started in September of 93, left in February of 95. And I think you worked there just a tad longer, if you include your time as an intern.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I started. If it was obviously after we graduated. Was it that summer that I started?
It must have been that summer. For all the time, I thought you'd actually been there longer than you really were.
No, I think it was the summer after I graduated. And then I went to school in the spring semester of 1996. So I can't remember exactly when I quit. It was probably, I don't know, October, November of 95. So I probably had a year and a half there. And then another, that was just like a summer gig. I don't know if it was how many weeks it was. Maybe it'd been a month. If that I did the internship there. So it was probably about the same time as you that I worked there.
Okay.
So you're gonna unveil your trip through the station. Anything else as far as
the idea is
what we need to prepare for?
Talk about our not podcasting career. So whatever that was. So I know, went to college to go into radio. You worked at the college radio station, and of course WCPA. So it's going to be really just the radio station chat, our radio broadcasting experience.
Okay.
And what has continued to drive us to get into broadcasting, even if it's podcasting.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's my idea, because I worked at a second radio station as well when I was starting out in the Air Force. I really missed it, so I had to get back into it. So I thought it'd be just fun to do.
Okay. Well, you might actually have more total experience at an actual station than I do. and I'm the one with the radio broadcasting degree.
Yeah. I like it.
How long did you work at the station in Illinois?
I started there, I want to say around November or December of 95. I left in January of 97. So just like a year and 2 months. I left because of the new management. It was right after the FCC started saying, okay, you can buy whatever you want. that's exactly what was happening. People were buying up radio stations left and right, and this this guy basically bought it out, and it was just an AM station. There was nothing else to it, just an AM little hometown radio station. And this group came in. They were forced out. They were bought out. So this few salesmen decided, hey, let's pull our money together and buy this little smaller radio station out in the boonies, and make it a big to do. They started out with wanting to do Radio Disney, and then that failed. Then they try to change it back to a news talk radio station, and that's it. Kind of fell on its face.
They did Radio Disney in the middle of Illinois.
Oh yeah, they attempted. It actually never got on air. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I was
The thing was that they had a Radio Disney segment at the former radio station, and I guess it was bringing bank, or at least giving them some automation.
Okay.
And they tried to do it with this one, and then they couldn't get the sponsors to run it. I honestly don't know how the radio station thrived with the other guy, to be honest. The guy showed me the bankroll at one point, said, "This is what I'm making." So he was literally just breaking even. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun, man. Love to get back into that mindset and remember those days at the station, and
yeah, I'm still loving it.
It was a good time. See if we can dig up a few more stories.
Right.
I can't remember exactly what we talked about when we had Bob on the show and all that. I might have to go listen to that one again.
Well, I've listened to it like 100 times by now. And what's funny, because I've said it before with all these podcasts, but I like listening to them. But a lot of it initially, the first run through when I listen is usually for a QC check to make sure we've edited it, or we've not missed a cuss word that we might have slipped out or something. I do the QC first. And then after that, it's like memories. And I just love, like, especially the school stories, the school time that we had. I loved listening to our fun and what we did walking down the halls, and, Russ and the helium and whatever else. Then listening to, the WCPA chat, I'm like, and then listening to Bob, I'm like, man, I just so remember being in that booth.
Yeah.
And I wish I had that stinking board, the board for the AM Pro, because when we're talking in the episode, I'm flicking. It was no kidding, like a left and right, I'll call it light switch. You went left, which we hardly ever did, and that was your audition. You went right, and that was production, which was on air. And we always flipped the switch to play the cart machines. That's exactly what we did. Cart 1, cart 2, WCPA, back on the air for Rush Limbaugh, or for me, Sunday Radio Networks of some sort. But it was, I'm flicking switches. It's muscle memory. I didn't realize that for 15 months. Jason and I are sitting in here and we're talking, I'm flicking switches, and it's just like, okay, 23 years ago, I have not flipped the switch like that, the console, and I'm still doing it.
You're still doing it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
A good time. It was it was where we kind of got to know each other better too. I mean, we knew each other from school and stuff, but it was something we both loved to do, and just the quirkiness of, we understood each other too, and what all the job we had to do while we were there. So we could kind of sympathize too when we get those phone calls from Carl.
Carl or the 800 requests, Yeah. I'd like to make a request and dedication. Sorry, you have to call the 800 number. What's that again? 1-800-247-HITS.
HITS.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll be fun.
We gotta leave it.
Yeah. That'll be fun for the show, the next show. And we'll just tell everybody, if you got some extra game shows that you remember that we might have missed on our journey back through them, please you can just tweet us, like I said before, at RD80s. Wyatt is at InfamousWB, or just go over to our show notes on rediscoverthe80s.com and post your comments there, and we'll try to. We had been doing feedback at the beginning of the show, and now that we've kind of got off track and not releasing shows for, I don't know, months at a time, it's hard to remember to pop that feedback in there. But we do care about you guys and your feedback, and if you enjoyed the show, if you didn't, or if we missed something, need to correct us on something, we do welcome those comments over there. So please leave us a comment there, and we'll see you next time on the Memory Jogger. Do you have something for us there, sir?
What do you mean?
You're the one that usually takes us home, right?
I do. I'm like, what? Did I miss another script somewhere?
I was ready to end the show, and I was like, wait, you usually end the show.
And we do apologize. We actually had a schedule at one point a few months ago lined up to do all these settings. So for Memory Jogger, for Mass Cache, for other entities, we had a schedule. And then life got back in our way again. So we deeply apologize that we're not on schedule. The idea was at least a monthly podcast of some sort. But as Jason was trying to segue, and that's pretty bad that he forgets how we end this. Thanks for tuning in to another Memory Jogger, and we invite you to come on down, spin the wheel, and circle gets the square on our next episode of Memory Jogger, the podcast.
That was good. That was good. And we'll sign off here on YouTube. One thing I did want to mention, we didn't mention kind of in the beginning comments of the show to actually get in the podcast, but Wyatt and I are scheming. We haven't put all of the details yet, or pretty much any details together, but we're trying to get back to our hometown and do essentially what we're going to call Memory Jogger the movie.
Yeah.
And just take a day, if we can, to get up there and to visit all these sites, our school, maybe where the radio station was. We'll wave at Silver Screen Video, and we just kind of take you around, go up there on Old Town Road and visit your old gas station you worked at, and some of the other sites.
Well, it's going to be a very abbreviated. I mean, we're obviously, like he said, it's going to be a day basically tour of Clearfield. There is a little bit more to Clearfield, maybe 2 days worth. But the idea is, like Jason said, he was the one that actually came up with the idea to kind of do memory lane, but for our fans, our followers, to understand where we grew up, to put visual on where we've been. So to see where our first jobs were, to see where our houses were, to see Beefs, the hangout place, even though we've shown, curbside Google pictures, it's just it looks different if you can see it and feel it a little bit better. And that's the idea, is to get that feel that, oh, right down the road, you guys had the dairy, and then you could go skating across the highway. Oh, and then I could just start work over here. That kind of thing. I can show you how I used to scare the crap out of Jason on the driving episode. I can show you that where the ham bays and the vacuum bays used to be. That kind of thing is what we're trying to go for. And like Jason affectionately called it, it's going to be Memory Jogger the movie. So we hope that this is going to be something great for you guys to enjoy and kind of put it together and just have fun with it. You guys are more than welcome to do kind of that for us. If you guys have we'll call it a Memory Jogger for yourselves, where you grew up, if you've been able to put some little video together, hey, I worked over here, that'd be awesome to see. This is just our little part of the world, central Pennsylvania, rural life for two people that are now obviously in very very metropolis type settings.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just the idea was because we usually get together for RetroCon each year and go to that in Philly, and we were thinking maybe we'll sacrifice one day there instead of going to RetroCon and drive up to our hometown and go and check it out and just turn on the video camera on the phone or whatever and plot a little bit of the route because we would probably stop at every little place, but we're going to put a list of like stuff that maybe we have mentioned on the podcast, like you said, the driving episode and the school memories and this and that. Make sure we hit those places that we've talked about mainly,
right?
But then also fit in our other stuff from childhood, homes, and where the Tasty Freeze used to be, and where I used to ride my bike down to the Buzzard's Candy Store in Kerwinsville. So we'll figure out the whole route that we'll take and try to fit it in one day, obviously. But that was the idea, just to give everyone some visuals and to hang out and just for posterity's sake and our sake, in case our memory ever gets really bad, we could have that. But that was the idea.
I told Jason, I used to think this would be. I used to want these as selfish, just us having fun, reliving our youth, going through down memory lane. But after the second episode, I started putting it together that this would be fun for our kids, get to know more about us as our own, as their dad, and then getting to see that we lived basically like brothers in a sense, so that, man, these guys did everything together. Man, they did this and this and this. Man, geez, these are guys are crack up, or they're one flight over the cuckoo's nest. Who knows? But that kind of, I like it. That's what I've been doing with my son, my kids. I started doing a digital voice recorder, and as I'm driving down the road, if something hits my mind, well, today is whatever date, and we just, this is the first day you lost your baby teeth, that kind of thing. That's what I'm doing. So this is just awesome. This Memory Jogger podcast, I love it.
Yeah, we can't let another month or two go by before we.
We need to fire this up. We apologize that we are supposed to be doing this, at least recording like 1 or 2 episodes a week, and then something comes out. So like Memory Jogger now would be, we'll just say at the end of this week, maybe tomorrow we record another episode and it might be Rankum. So Rankum would come out. Then Masscast would be recorded, and then Masscast comes out the following week. So we're trying. That was the intent. It didn't happen, but that was the intent.
Well, it can still be the intent. Just we'll see how our schedules go, and
that's it.
You've got starting a new job, so we'll figure it out, and we'll get them out hopefully a little bit more frequently than we have been in the last, I don't know, several months. But like you said, I'm also trying to get some other folks into podcasts, mainly on the Rankums, to give you something new in the feed each time, a couple times a month. So anyway, we appreciate you watching, listening, following, all of the ings, and and we'll sign off for now. So thanks again.
Thank you. See ya.